Welcome, my friends. This is Maniacal Incorporated, and High King Glasson's dereliction of his religious duties has led to a civil war within the Kingdom of Ireland. I kind of half noticed this when Glasson came to power, but I didn't fully realise. I was wondering why this wasn't glowing, and I also realised at one stage that his father had converted to the old version of Druidism, and that but we didn't have an option to convert him for some strange reason, and that is, of course, because we also are old Gaelic, and that's not something I realised, and it has precipitated a civil war. Basically, all of the new Gaelic rulers are fighting to depose Glasson, and that is not something that we can allow. He has a very, very hefty alliance against him. They can put together 14,000 troops. Glasson only has 5. He's bringing in about another 4.5 from his wife. In a couple of minutes, hopefully, when she answers the call. I think the most sensible thing to do to start is to come to our wife, Moraid, and we will adopt her faith. Possibly this is part of her demands, that she won't accept supporting Glasson unless he converts. I think it was Glasson's branch of the family that actually converted to Druidism day one, and Moraid's branch of the family that then created the new Gaelic religion, or that reformed the Gaelic religion. So possibly this is Glasson looking back to the old ways of his grandfather, I believe. But Moraid is demanding that she will not send troops to Ireland unless he accepts the new reformed Gaelic faith. So we're told that a ton of people will convert. Some of the people fighting against us will not convert, however, because they already converted, and that's the entire problem. So we've been given patrimony over the Tuatha Dé Danann. Here is our new court druid with a fancy new hat. I know there's been some updates of recent to what pagan and druidic characters look like. So that's a rather interesting development. With my decision to convert to Gaelic, I arranged for a druid to come to my court and beat me with a stick. With the faith of my immortal soul in question, I can only pray that I have made the right decision. Metaphysica aside, I can take comfort in knowing that the majority of my realm stands in ruin. So we could say at least I have Crihan to guide me. Yeah, sure, at least I have Crihan to guide me. We have a number of vacancies in our court that have just appeared. We have a new court druid, Keen Fiaula. Here is our steward position. So Rory is the best of the best. We will assign Rory for Chancellor. The very best position is Angus, who the Isles are currently fighting to install as High King of Ireland. So we're going to appoint Angus and try and get him to convince the vassals why we should remain in power and not him. Right then, what are we going to do? I have a feeling that if we try to raise our forces in Scotland and send them south, we'll probably be taken on a merry dance, and we'll take a lot of attrition. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to raise the forces in Munster, and we're going to try and at least take a couple of areas in Leinster, allow the hostile forces to come into our territory, and we can hit them, hopefully cause them some attrition. We're going to need to get mercenaries. So our wife is arriving with about 4,000 troops. I'm going to raise all of our forces here. And let's see what we can do in terms of mercenaries. Now we have a good chunk of money, and here on the left hand side is the main opponent that we're going to be facing. So he has Huscarls, Vigmin, and Bondi. So we're talking about spearmen, we're talking about archers and heavy infantry. And I think our best way of getting forces to counter them would be this army of light horsemen, which can counter the archers. And we have here the Band of the Horn, with a substantial number of troops. So that has put the finances in a bit of a position. We would want to try and bring this to an end as soon as possible. Our wife has agreed to join the battle. We have formed an alliance by marrying the court physician and mother of the ruler of a region in, I think it's northern Germany. So we are going to call this Baba to war with about 900 troops. It's actually one of the only alliances that we have that actually has forces. I'm hoping we can hit this army before it moves out. So there is one defeat. Angus is now being nominated as our heir. I think we might very well take our forces and move them up to attack this army because we have the Isles coming across. We've taken 2 prisoners in that battle. Mwiriduk knows how to operate military engines, so we are going to demand his conversion and recruit him. And while Paul is also here, he is a holy warrior here. He's an insularist. We'll leave him there for a while. Our sister has died from her wounds. There's Mwiriduk has been released from prison. We're sending our forces up. Not too sure what battle that was. And here we see the large army from the Isles heading across. I think we're actually going to get somebody in time, are we? We are indeed to stop these guys. So the Isles now is in a position where it has to reassess what it wants to do. Now, the only problem is that it is continuously building numbers until we can actually hit them. Guys, I'm kind of in a bit of an issue here. I was about to give out actually to the Tuadedanen for looking for more land. However, they're also going to give me more money. Absolutely, you take whatever you want. We're seeing that the Isles is preparing to head out to sea. I'm not too sure what direction they're going in. They're not too sure what direction they're going in. I believe our wife's army has landed. They're putting some regions in Wales under siege. I think if we can take Leinster, that's going to affect their ability to reinforce. Our vassal has been taken prisoner by our wife. So am I right in saying there that our wife has taken her brother, her mad brother, prisoner? Well, her mad dying brother. Well, there you go. So they've come across again. The only problem, if we could have hit them in time, they would have had that disembarkation penalty. Somebody has hit them. But if we can take Dublin, I think we'll probably end up doing more damage to them. We are going to begin the process of moving our forces north. I think we're going to have to try and get in and hit these guys. At least start taking some chunks apart before the overwhelming forces get in. So they were bringing 6,000 troops across, and they are going to continue sending them in, which is absolutely fantastic. We were very lucky to get up there at that point in time. If we had allowed that for just a couple of more weeks for them to bring their forces across, we could have been in severe trouble. In total, our enemies would have been able to deploy just under 14,000 troops against our 13,000, but I think they would have had much better numbers or much better equipped troops, we're not looking at any major raid on our side, so I think we're countering everything pretty efficiently. However, we lost 918 troops. They lost 4,400. Look at these for numbers on the side of our knights. Rory with 103. We'll call him Booley. I know that's not how it's pronounced. 139 kills. Do we have anyone here that we kind of recognise? We haven't been keeping an eye on these guys. Angus is wounded, and he has 64 kills, fighting against the guys who are trying to install him. No, don't install me as king. I don't want to be king. That would be terrible. So everything is going really well. Look at this, we've 11,000, almost 12,000 troops. Haha, they only have 10,000 out of a max of 21. I have no idea where that number has come from, but if they get anywhere near that, levies, 6,800 out of 16,000. I'm hoping he's going to bankrupt himself. Surely he has to be... Never mind. We have our first major loss of the campaign. Our brother-in-law, I think it was Muelpole, has died in our wife's, his sister's dungeon. His land has been inherited by his brother, Chieftain Angus, who this entire war is about. And Angus has handed Ormond out to Earl Colin, which has dragged Ormond out of the war. It's a bit risky, but I have split my army in 3 with the Isles withdrawing. We have one of our large forces is here, sieging down Antrim. I have 2 units are heading down towards Leinster to siege it down, and this is the risky part. Heading for Tyrconnell is the High King himself. We are, as always, desperate for troops, and we have organised an alliance to the Kingdom of Poland by marrying, or organising to marry, the 3-year-old daughter of the King of Poland. Now, they're currently in a war. They're 86% in the green, so that's coming to an end shortly. We will call them into this conflict as well. We haven't been entirely successful with our sieges up in the north of the country. We have taken Antrim. We had to abandon and then restart the siege of Tyrconnell because we were seeing massive numbers of troops coming down from this region. They're attempting to land soldiers in Dublin. We are going to go out to meet them and hopefully hit them before that disembarkation penalty is knocked off of them. Now that we have converted to the new Gaelic faith, we're becoming an awful holy Joe. There are a number of people who would do well to be reminded that I am in the Divine Mother's good graces. Maybe he's trying to kind of push, no, I was always New Gaelic. No, this is a total mistake. The people that we're fighting against are the heretics. We're going to spend some piety to gain some money, because we have a lot of piety and not that much money. And I think we have indeed just hit them before that penalty ended, so we're coming in slowly. We're able to drive them out from there. I won't lie, I got very frightened there for a second because I thought this was our primary wife, Moraid. It isn't. It's Ursula of Hivelli. Somebody that we married to form an alliance with her son and his 900 or so troops. Oh, it's a terrible... So terrible. And here comes the main body of the Polish troops, 2,000. We have taken all of Leinster. We're going to move up and hit these guys anyway, and then we're going to look at shoving across into Scotland. I was thinking about the main body of the Polish troops. There's more of them. Now, we are actually doing quite well. We are up to 84%, so we could very well look at actually trying to siege down Tyrone and Tyrconnell. We are being told that our troops are going to be disbanding, and that's the only thing in the next 6 months. So our mercenary companies have been dismissed. I didn't actually realize they were going to be dismissed that quickly. And we have indeed, thanks to a raid into Tyrconnell, we have managed to hit 100% war score. Well, I was going to say we're baiting them down a lot. They still have the ability to put together 22,000 troops. This war has gone on for 3 years. It'd be fantastic if they gave you a bit of details on the amount of casualties. I'd love to know how many people have died in this war. We had that massive battle at Dundalk, and really it's been a clean-up operation ever since then. We have managed to show our power on the island. We have managed to give in to the main demands of the new Gaelic forces, which was that we have converted. Angus was maybe playing it a bit coy, waiting to see what way the battles would go, but very quickly it became apparent that we would at least control Ireland, and probably the death of his brother and the expansion of his kingdom has helped him to accept that he will play second fiddle. We will, before this battle comes to an end, we will enforce our demands. 3 years of war, thousands dead. We've lost 1,000 gold, or close to it. And you know what? After all that, we can't really do as much as we wanted. Moyle Pole. We will ransom him for €1. This Earl in West Riding, I'm happy enough to ransom them out for 50. Here's Osmond in Berwick. We can't actually ransom him out at the moment. We will demand his conversion, and off you go. Here's Owen up in Tier Owen Mac Arthurlock. Bit of a divil. We'll ransom him out for 50. Now, this is the man that we're interested in. In the Isles, look at this, basically all of Scotland and Leinster. So that's the problematic part. We're going to, the main thing that I want to do is to retract Leinster. That is Christina. So he's a known criminal. I'm not too sure will this actually end up releasing him. But I don't want to do a huge lot more. We would, if we could, possibly try and break the north of Scotland. So we will retract that vassal. I wonder, would it just have been a better idea to have revoked the title of Leinster? If we try and revoke anything else from him, however, if we try to revoke Albany, that would be one of the main ones that we'd go after. We'll gain 40 stress, cultural acceptance will decrease, which I'm not too pushed about. He's going to hate us even more, and our subjects will lose 20 opinion. Do you know what? I'd say we've enough. I'd say we've enough done to the man. We'll get 100 quid off him and tell him to behave. Moyle Pole, the poor man, is after dying in the prison before he could give us that €1. Well, damn it. These lads, I'd say they were raiding us in the midst of all this, and I'd say they're heading back home. And, well, they might, because we'll be after them. If they come back again, they raided in the midst of that war. Faction to install Angus has now collapsed. And the kingdom is at something vaguely resembling peace. Right then, now that we have dealt with that war, now that we have stabilized the kingdom some bit, I think it only makes sense that the first thing Glasson would do is go on a pilgrimage to confirm his devotion to the new ways. And again, it would make sense maybe to go to Uisneach, which is under the control of Angus. So this is both a religious and a diplomatic mission. The other thing we're going to do is look to maybe getting some prestige and getting some money together. So allowing the forces to build up. I have started building a... Need to zoom in a bit closer. started building walls and ditches here in Dalgosh. Here is Eve Valley, another region under our control. There isn't much actually built here, so let's go for the longhouses. Levies, control growth, and prestige. I have raised my armies as raiders. We can see that England isn't actually looking too bad. We could very well think about sending our forces in this direction, but we're actually going to try, for now, to see if we can pick up some money over here. These devils have been raiding us for long enough, and now it is time that the same gets done back to them. Basically, I just want their money. We have arrived at Ushnoch in our pajamas, because we're not feeling great. Just as our forces begin to arrive to terrorize the Christians of Scandinavia. Our son Welpole has come of age, or he's not come of age. He has reached the age of knowing, and we will tell him of the otherworldly spirits and ask if he'll attend the next spooky convention that we're going to have, because nobody's shown up so far. He deserves to know her power. To the worthless High King Glason, I know that you are Thurlock's real killer. If you wish for my silence, you will do as I say. So this is the ruler of Lindsay. So who is Thurlock? Thurlock died in a hunting accident. I'd forgotten about this. How did somebody find out? Our father-in-law covered this up. That we accidentally killed somebody during a hunting accident. So it might be hard to see, but this is the region that he controls. Mostly off here to the east, but adjoining some of our land in Wales as well. I think Glason, after all that he's gone through in this episode, would be very frightened about having any more secrets revealed, and he is going to accept. Now, who's to say how wise of an idea this is? But I have begun to push my troops across the border into the lands of the Earl of Lindsay. Maybe we could take him captive. Wouldn't that be terrible? Welpole has come of age. He is a warlock. He is not the worst knight. And if we could get him elected as king, that would be the absolute unification of Ireland and a good chunk of territory in Norway. I think it might happen anyway, regardless. I think it will. Because he'll be inheriting our 2 counties, and he'll be inheriting all of his mother's land. But most certainly, with his heritage, and especially as he is the unification of the 2 branches of the family. So if we take a look at that very quickly, we can see that there's kind of these two big branches, this one over here and this one over here. So we belong to the branch that started with Cúchangailt, and his mother is a descendant of High King Angus. So he is actually, I think he appears on both trees. There you go. So there he is, our son and his mother's son. So it's a unification of these 2 branches. And that would make him a very suitable ruler. I'm going to continue pushing in this direction. We've taken some of the Earl's positions here, but we didn't actually capture anyone. I'm bringing my soldiers back so that they don't take attrition penalties wandering around in this region. We might push over here and see if we can, because we would want to start trying to keep them together now. I'm not too sure how this has happened, but we have become the defenders in a war, a holy war, for the county of Caithness. So it's Leinchuk of... Here's Caithness. Where's Leinchuk? We're being told that is Leinchuk pushing the demand? No. Where is he? Okay, I was not expecting him to be over here, but this is where he is. How the hell did he end up over here? Gaelic Irish, ruler of this region, and he is defending against somebody. Do you know what? I am actually so convoluted as to what the politics here are. Dervla, who is this? Our sister-in-law has lashed out at us in frustration. I will give as good as I get. Scullion. Here's some of the new memory stuff that's been added to CK3. I was talking about this recently. Influenced a bit by Dwarf Fortress. To the impotent... How dare you? High King Glason. May wisdom ever elude you. It seems that there is no recourse for what dispute, other than to settle it on the battlefield. The Northmen army is making an attempt to conquer Connacht. I wouldn't be surprised if he has more than this. Actually, this is maybe it. 8,800. They are special forces, however. Oh no, special forces. Rally the troops. They're already rallied. The Northerner Menace. A horde of disjointed pirates, landless freemen, desperate lesser children, and other assorted miscreants have joined Inge in his proposed assault against my holdings. Although the size of the force is formidable, they lack discipline or loyalty, with each scrounged mercenary focused exclusively on what they can get out of the war first and foremost. Unlike a conventional foe, it might be possible to simply duel directly with the invaders. Perhaps a bargain could be struck. Glosson is, with each and every time I check out his profile, he's looking more and more disappointing. And to think that this is possibly the first emperor that we're looking at here, because that's our main goal, is the empire, and instead of wasting forces, we have got in a good chunk of money. In my experience, soldiers prefer gold to glory. He has a lot of money. He's content. He's fickle. I think he's just going to pay for this problem to go away. We've actually gotten most of the money that we just spent back together by ransoming out some prisoners. And we're going to send our forces to raid down the Shetland Islands, or not to raid it down, but to deal with this other war. I had just sent them out. When these guys started sieging here. So I don't think we'll be finished here for quite a while. Uh-oh. Oh, Glosson. He has become melancholic. It's all too much. So we do have some more soldiers hanging around. Just hanging around, do nothing. I didn't want to stand them all up the way we'd be losing a ton of money. I stood some of them down. But we'll send them in against this force. See if we can bring this war to an end. The Duke of Lindsay is plotting against my rival. That's terrible. So hopefully we can bring that other war to an end without needing to go out to Scandinavia. What do you want? You want freedom? You shall have it in debt. A substantial chunk of our army is stuck on a small island trying to siege down someplace. They have not yet received news that the Insularists have risen up. They're being attacked in Tyrconnell. They've risen up all throughout the country. And at the moment, we are sending our forces to deal with them. Here is our son, Moel Pol. I'm sending him down here in this direction. And this army then is going to come across and hit these guys. We could have had Moel Pol go in there, but the numbers weren't looking great. And we're not actively trying to kill him. And we have gotten ourselves a new diplomacy lifestyle. I think this is going to be the last one I'm going to go for, is forced vassalage. So I've taken embassies and defensive negotiations. We have family hierarch. And I think what I'm going to do is the same thing we always do. Because he's shoving up in years, we will focus on medicine. And we will start trying to progress down the whole of body tree to see if we can keep him alive for as long as is necessary. While Pole has just gone in against some troops down here, just at the same time that Mead landed. We'll bring him down this way, and hopefully somebody will follow him. We have our other troop over here, so we might just bring them together in Kildare to start with. We have actually lost the Siege of Ossory. They managed to get that done because we were sitting around, and our vassal Diarmid has been killed. So Diarmid is the son of Phelimid, who was deposed. That's going to have created a bit of anarchy, I think, in a few places. So here is Earl Carlos. Who exactly was Carlos? He was a younger brother of Diarmid. So this would be our uncle-in-law, basically. My god, that's just complete anarchy there in that scenario. I was not expecting to lose that battle. I was not expecting that they were going to get its siege down so quickly. So we've sent our forces in to exact revenge. And we have 100%. We are almost finished our siege of the Shetlands. Here are 2 prisoners that we took on our many raids. I have organised for them to be released. Here is Foyloin, Mock, Mahuna, one of the peasant commanders, Marshal of 24. We took him prisoner early on. We will demand his conversion. We can recruit him, so we will negotiate his release. Here is Gilla Moktu, the commander of that insularist rebellion. Do you know what? He is a very interesting figure. He is brave. He is a tough soldier. He's very good diplomacy. Prowess is not shabby. He will accept a demand to be converted, but will not accept joining our court. So Foyloin has gone. Oh well. As a penalty for the death of one of our vassals. If he won't join us, we will execute him. And I think after losing about 1,000 soldiers in this region, we've managed to bring this war to an end. This war that I didn't start. We are shoving on in years, and I don't think we can push this off any further. We are going to nominate a successor for the High Kingship. And we're going to see if we can nominate our son, Moel Pole. We, of course, can nominate him. He is in 2nd place amongst the electors. Winning at the moment is Edoin, our brother-in-law. He's not the worst character. We will continue to support our son for the position. Actually, currently winning is Chieftain Angus, which makes sense. He is 34, however. I don't think he's all that much younger than we are. He is. So it's entirely possible that that Angus will indeed succeed as the High King, but we will see if we can get our son, Moel Pole, in that position. We will continue to support him for the High Kingship. You'll have seen with our recent foray into the diplomacy lifestyle learning that we picked up force vassalization, and that is exactly what we are now going to do. We could wage a couple of wars to conquer these regions and to bring them into the fold, bring them into the possession of Glasson. Glasson is fickle and content. It's probably a hard enough job as it is already to convince him to actually go to war against these regions and to, if not complete, at least push forward the conquest of Wales. So if we can just attack these people and get them to continue ruling these regions themselves, all Glasson wants is an easy life. And I think while we're actually at it, while we have the prestige, while we have the numbers, we might as well, we can't vassalize them because I think we actually need to have a border. We are now basically at war with the entirety of independent Wales, bar this island. And here then we have a chunk of land that is held by the Kingdom of England. Moyle Pole will be given the command of the Central Army. We'll send these guys down in this direction. Try and cut off those forces, which I think failed. With all the troops we have, they're still getting the runaround on us. And our wife calls us into a war at a very bad point in time. We will accept. She's not looking great, the poor woman. She looks like she's taking a beating. Easy enough conquest in that region. We will move this army over here, and what we might have to do, and I think it is poor Moyle Pole who is looking like the weak candidate. Okay, that's never mind. Don't need to worry about that. We will keep our daughter as temperate. We're raising our daughter. Moyle Pole is looking like the weak candidate, by which I mean it is taking this army the longest to complete the siege. So what we're going to have to do, poor owl Moyle Pole is kicked out and a siege commander is put in place. We have received, or we are going to send, a holy letter to Archdruid Mwirish. We sit down with our good friend King Wincenti, Catholic Pole. He's going to know a ton about Druidism, and together we will craft a truly splendid letter highlighting Mwirish's youthful vigor. Do you know what? Yeah. Well, he has the whole of body. I will say his only superior, Danu, and the Dagda, and the Morgan, and Lou. Actually, there's a lot of them. We're getting lots and lots of factions being created. I thought we'd actually be able to win all of these wars all at once. We have seized somebody's perfume bottle. The Earldom of Lanark. They believe in Catholicism. The fools. They will pray to the Tuatha De Danann. So that's probably the next region we should look towards converting. It's taking about 5 years at the moment. Instead of being foolish and bringing these wars to an end one by one and kind of messing up, because I think we'll actually have to take most of the regions, or we'll have to take 1 or 2 regions. It won't be just conquer this and we have the whole thing, because we've conquered this region and we haven't won the war. The Norsemen, traders, raiders and mercenaries, the Norse have long travelled from Scandinavia all throughout Europe, causing devilment. Now it appears that this age may be coming to an end, as cultural differences and clan rivalries have led to the rise of disparate Danish, Irish, Icelandic, Swedish, and Varangian identities amongst them, as well as the fledgling Norse Gaelic community of the Isles. What does this mean for the future of Europe? Moyle has been given back his military command and sent to deal with some forces that are causing devilment. We'll send him back to lift that siege, and there isn't really much of a point now, is there? In switching in Murdoch in one of these armies. An opportunity to bury the hatchet with Dervla. I think she's our sister-in-law. So, and a curse undone. So which Moyle is this? Our rival? I think we released him from prison. Or he was in our prison. He wasn't still in our prison. But we hated him. And we have a number of battles. What we can actually do while this guy is in prison... We can't demand his conversion because he's not our vassal, and of course what's going to happen, from what I understand, is once we enforce our demands, he's out the door. Well, that's a pity. And although we are far from controlling all of its land, Glasson is finally in a position to proclaim himself as King of Wales. Furthermore, we will institute absolute tribal authority. And I believe that this might be what we're looking for. So Glasson, building on the works of those who came before him, those who returned Ireland to Druidism, and then reformed Druidism. Glasson is going to take us out of the tribal past. It does mean a loss to our ability to raid. It is going to impact our total soldiers. It is going to have a major impact on the kingdom, on the empire that Glasson seeks to achieve. That loss of raiding is going to be the big kicker, but we will adopt feudal ways. The old ways have served us well, and we will always honour them. However, as High King of Ireland, I have concluded that we must adopt feudalism and its principles if we shall continue to prosper. It is the crucial next step on our road to greatness. So that changes the government. Tribal holdings will now become castle holdings, and my tribal vassals will change to feudalism. And with that, as you can see in the right-hand corner, we now have found the Celtic Empire. The Celtic Empire becomes de jure liege of Alba, Wales, and Ireland. You get the Celtic Empire, and Glasson will gain the nickname the Father of the Celts. The Irish are an ancient race with customs and traditions harking back to the mists of time. Though some of our kin have called themselves kings, none yet has dared to anoint himself emperor. With the traditional Celtic realms now under our control, such imperial ambitions are finally within our grasp. We will unite the Celts once and for all. Glasson, how can you still be melancholy? Come on, turn that frown upside down. You have established a mighty Celtic empire. You are known as the Father of the Celts. You hold 3 titles. You are King of Ireland, King of Scotland, King of Wales, Emperor of the Gael. Possibly Glasson feels that everything he has achieved on the back of others. But the ability to build and shape a new Celtic empire through feudalism, this gives him an opportunity to make a mark on the world that is his own. And possibly that's what he's going to look to do going forward. Also, the first ever successful holding of a spooky convention. That would be another major achievement for Glasson. if he could pull that off. If we could just take Chester, we'd have basically the Celtic Empire that that people dream of online, where you have Scotland and Wales and just this kind of belt connecting the two of them. We've achieved all of our major goals. We've converted to Druidism. We have restored Druidism to its rightful place. We have built a mighty Celtic empire, wielding together 3 crowns. I do want to see what the options for the spooky convention is, getting a warlock convention together. The other thing is, the Gaelic faith is spreading a bit. We're beginning to see a bit of a pushback, I think, because I did convert this region here. And I think it's fallen to an insular ruler. It has indeed. Oh, Jesus. Oh, look at the face of him. Hi, lad. Okay. So I do want to try and actually increase the fervor of Druidism. And to see how feudalism plays out in this new Ireland that we have created. We now have, of course, the ability to... Maybe not in Dalgash. I don't think we have the ability anywhere, have we? Nope. Our lands are too small, but there's now the ability to actually build cities, give them to the Tuatha Dé Danann and make them even more powerful. We have the ability to expand our cities and our holdings. We're going to have to get some technology together. I know that Manded suggested dismantling the papacy. That's maybe a bit of a challenge to get all the ways down here. There's Foundry University. We'd need to control a barony with a predefined historical university slot. We are going to have at least one more episode where I focus on restoring Druidism throughout Ireland at the very least. Converting as many, if not all, of the vassals. Increasing the fervor of Druidism. We're going to finish cleaning up the areas that we're missing in Wales. I don't actually think these are part of Scotland, but we might add them anyway. We'll see what the next generation is going to be like once power transfers from Glasson. And once the numerous titles that he currently holds go in a myriad of different directions. So it's looking at the moment like the Kingdom of Alba might become the main title, because that's what Pole is going to inherit alongside the Celtic Empire. But there you go. If you have any ideas where you would like this to go for what's most likely going to be its last episode, do post them below. Thank you all very much for joining me on this episode, and I hope that you will join me on the next one with your Warlock and Witches hats on, because I want a Warlock convention.